Hello and welcome to the Recursion Cafe, where we play games from the discard pile. In today's game of Netrunner, we have World's finalist cableCarnage on the left and myself on the right. cableCarnage is playing Arissana, one of the new runners from the Automata initiative. Once per turn, she can install a program from her hand during a run at instant speed, and if it is a Trojan, it gets to hang around, but if it's not a Trojan, then it gets trashed at the end of the run. I am playing Teia once again, another ID from the Automata initiative, and once per turn, whenever you install a card in one of its two remote servers, you can install another one in the other remote server, ignoring all install costs. It looks like turn one I will decline to use that ability. I'll go install into remote, install in front, and Hanse review. cableCarnage starts with a diesel. It makes sense, Arissana needs a lot of card draw, especially to get her pieces going. She'll dirty laundry and go to HQ, which is open. It makes a lot of sense. There's only two cards in there, may as well check out what's there, and season a teeny, which is great for me because the other card is a 5/3 agenda. But he doesn't know that, and it's great, and you just got to play it off cool. So he gets the laundry bunny, takes a run at my remote server. It's a tattoo bowler, and he knows there's a piece of ice in my hand, so I will get the economic benefit. With Arissana, he could potentially install a program from hand to break it, but most Arissana players aren't running Slam Vandal at this point. Instead, he installs a Q-band, then runs archives and finds a 1-point agenda, which is quite telling that I threw it out, which might be kind of indicative of the other card in my hand. Fortunately for me, I get to fire the Rashida, so that's 3 credits and 3 more cards in hand to a total of 11 credits. And it's always a good feeling to stick a turn 1 Rashida, especially in Teia that really wants cards early on in the game. So we have a double install, so install into the other remote server to install the ice in front, install in the server, and install a piece of ice in front of HQ. And so Cable will run the other remote, and it's a Spin Doctor. He'll install Ika in the meantime, because Arissana is a pretty cool runner. I will leave Spin Doctor there, and Cable will not trash it. There's not really much point at this point in time. So there's an SMC coming down. I managed to stick a turn 2 Rashida, so Rashida into Rashida. It's a pretty good start. And I'm up to 14 credits, so I'm feeling pretty good. Cable knows there's an Atini potentially floating around. He doesn't really want to hit that face first at the moment. And so we'll trash the Spin Doctor to install into the second remote and into the main remote. It's another Spin Doctor. I'm just looking for more cards and options at this point. And we'll install 2 more cards into the main remote. So that was 4 installs in all this round, which Rashida and Spin Doctor definitely help fuel. So still got 5 cards in hand after 4 installs, and I think I had to ditch a card out of hand as well. So cableCarnage will continue to diesel and continue to draw options. We haven't seen a lily pad yet, but there's a creative commission, so he goes up to 12 credits, and he probably has to discard some cards. There's an SMC and a Mimic, which is curious, and a Clot, which is even more curious. I think that's a catch and altar there. So no Rashida this time, it's a Lacosta grid. So we pay 3, and then we'll add an advancement into one of those cards in the server. And we will pop the Spin Doctor to shuffle back a Spin Doctor and something else. At this point, I think I'm looking for more defenses because it looks like Dan's ready to go on that side of the table. He's got an SMC, an Ika, and a Keyman, and he's got 12 credits. So it's looking tough. Here's another Spin Doctor into a 3rd install on that big server. We'll draw more cards. A piece of ice on R&D would be awesome right now, just because at any point cableCarnage could just slam a conduit and run 4 times and dig pretty deep. There it is, we finally found a piece of ice. Who knows what it is? Fingers crossed it's an Anansi, because an Anansi on R&D is always good. So click 1, cableCarnage will buy your bands, I think archives. He does not trigger Arissana just yet. Draws 2, installs a symbol chip for no cost. Second click, he will do it again, pay 2 more, run archives again, draw 2, install another symbol chip for free. It's pretty good, and still got 2 clicks left. Buy your bands, such an odd card, but really good for tempo, especially in Arissana, who can make use of that. So here is a overclock into R&D, I believe, and here is some of that R&D pressure that I was worried about. So I decide not to res, and he pops the SMC for a cleaver, which is not a conduit, so I'm okay with this. And he sees a card off the top, and it's not an agenda, so nothing there to worry about. I do wonder what that piece of ice is that it's stored on R&D, because it's pretty threatening when you overclock it, and I think I just didn't want to reveal what it was to keep the suspense, you know. So we'll continue to advance that card in the remote server with Lacosta. Lacosta's such good value, and it means you can spend your turn kind of addressing the rest of your board, which is nice. But instead we will triple advance and score out the sender message, pushing the tempo, but also crucially getting a free ice res. And there isn't an anti, it's on HQ, which is pretty solid. But it saves me some money resing ice and get some points on the board. So it's now 3 points to 1. There is the lily pad. A pretty big install, it's 4 cost, but it gives you 2 memory and it gives you a solid amount of card draw throughout the game. We're still only early to mid game at this point, so it's going to provide a fair amount of value, I feel. So cableCarnage has chopped at R&D, and I think at the start of the run he will use Arissana's ability to install a Q-ban directly onto that piece of ice, which incentivizes me to res it. And it's a magnet, that solves the mystery there. So I was waiting for an opportunity to use the magnet's ability, and fortunately cableCarnage put his Q-ban on there, and I'll magnetize the other Q-ban, making both useless. And of course cableCarnage doesn't have a decoder out, so it does actually end the run. And there's a creative commission to end that turn. Pretty productive turn, all things considered. And I haven't seen a Urban Art Vernissage out yet, so those Q-bans are stuck on that magnet for now, which I'm pretty happy with. He does have 2 symbol chips on the board, but I get the feeling that might not be the most effective or efficient use of those precious resources in Arissana especially. So it looks like I just click for some credits and install a piece of ice over R&D, because now the secret's out. Like, the magnet's there, it's done its job. There it is. So there was also a double install and an Adrian's ice that I almost forgot to res, and cableCarnage was nice enough to let me take that back before the turn began. So he'll move over to the main server. So there's an SMC, which again allows for a card draw from Lilypad, and it looks like there's some more installing going on. There's an environmental testing, fantastic card in Arissana, and a laundry into archives. And Arissana might install something. Yep, there's a Pisha Shao. Free install, which, you know, clicklessly gets an environmental testing counter, all this good stuff, and good value during a run. And we'll access. And I just flip over an agenda and go, you access this? And I went, oh, sorry, I meant to spin doctor that. Is that okay? And he goes, and yeah, my opponent is very nice and just says, yeah, that's fine. That's obvious. So yes, I facepalm a bit. And yeah, so that's the second spin doctor gone, spinning back spinning back a 5-3 and something else. I guess for the runner, it's like just information that he kind of got for free. But yeah, check your discard piles, folks. It's a PSA. So Lacosta Grid will continue to tick up whatever is in that server, and I consider things. So I have 6 credits only. It's not a great amount of money to defend what is a potential onslaught coming, especially with that amount of programs on cableCarnage's side of the board. I know R&D is safe at the moment. So I'll overinstall the second piece of ice to get rid of Pisha Shao and then take a credit, and Cable will symbol chip it right back. So it looks like he intends to be aggressive this turn, potentially. It also gets him a lily pad draw and an environmental testing counter, so it's honestly really solid value. And that Pisha Shao can do a lot of work if left unchecked. Speaking of, here's the overclock. So there's 5 credits of house money going into R&D, and I have to think about things because I only have 7 credits, so I have to look around my whole board and just kind of consider what the economic state of things is and if I will ever financially recover from this. Because with an overclock and an SMC and a Pisha Shao, again, oh yeah, he doesn't have a decoder out, so he probably will have to find one. But again, I'm just worried about a big conduit dig, which could be problematic. And he knew I spin back a 5-3, so he knows there are agendas in there. And we'll res Natini, which is a big old piece of ice. It puts me down to 1 credit, which is not ideal on my end. But there doesn't seem to be a good way of dealing with it on cableCarnage's side, so he just has to take 3 net damage to the face, because we are at threat 3 at the moment. So I get an SMC, wheels, and a Urban Art Vernissage, which is a good pull because he hasn't installed one of those yet. So we pass the Athene, he'll pop the SMC and find a Buzzsaw. and use, I think he has to eventually use some real money to install that, and then we'll pay 1 to get through the magnet. That's a pretty good answer in most cases, except for higher strength code gates. Here's a piece of ice on R&D, doesn't do anything with it. And that was first click. That was first click, but he got a click back from Feature Shell. So he just has more clicks of utility to do things with. It is my hope that the Atini is suitably discouraging that he can't keep doing that. He's only on 3 credits, and I haven't seen a Takobi yet, so it's looking okay for me at least. So there's a laundry into archives. I do check the FaceTime card this time, and it's a swordsman. So that's the card that I overwrote in front of R&D. And there's the Urban Art Vernissage, the UAV. So next turn onwards, he is able to swap and slide his Trojans all over the place and bring them back to hand and get discounts on his installs. So solid install. A little bit later than he probably would have liked, which is good for me. Lacosta keeps ticking up, and I just take 3 credits because that is probably the best play at the time. And here comes another environmental testing, which he uses the UAV money for, and then he'll run the remote server. So I have 4 credits in my name. That's less than ideal, but there are upgrades in that server, one of which is Vovo, which is a fantastic card from the Automator Initiative. Really, really cool and amazing in Arteo. So, especially this kind of build of Arteo. So here's a free Tattoo Bowler. He'll break it for 1 with Cleaver. I will swap it with a piece of ice in my hand and get paid 4 credits for the privilege. So I res it for free and then get paid 4. Pretty solid deal, in my opinion. Arissana will install a Q-ban onto the second piece of ice before encountering, which will trigger environmental testing, giving cableCarnage 9 credits, going up to 11. So we're both getting money here, we're both getting paid for this run in the middle of it, which is awesome. So I'll res Atini for 4, and I know, again, no Takabi or Turbine out, so Buzzsaw struggles a bit with it. And he doesn't want to keep taking that much net damage. It looks like he only has 2 or 3 cards in hand, so he has to break it. I imagine, and especially at this threat level, you can't just pay through it. So the 9 credits that he got from environmental testing, 8 goes into breaking it, but then Q-ban pays him back for 2. He'll then break the other Tattoo Bowler, and I get paid doing that to swap the piece of ice with a piece of ice in my hand. He will then hit the server, and we play the side game for Adrian. So what do you think you'd bet at this point? He has 4 credits left, I have 7. What would you go for? I have to keep in mind that he might want to keep money in hand to trash some things, so in case he accesses, the rest of it. In the end, I bet 2, and my opponent bet 0. So he will access Adrian, he does nothing with him, and keeps his 4 credits. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I think I would have definitely trashed him, because it makes running that whole server just really annoying. But yeah, my opponent didn't trash him, so there we are. So then we continue to advance with Lacosta, and we draw a card. And we consider things. There's 3 advancements on it. What do I want to do? I have 5 credits left. And do I want to push tempo? I'm looking at my opponent's side of the board. He only has 4 credits. The environmental testing isn't that far ticked up. There's no credits on UAV. So I don't think there's any benefit to waiting. So I will double advance, score out Fuji, which again puts more pressure in a different way. It's 2 net damage. And I see a Sure Gamble and a Lily Pad. So the gamble's nice. Next turn might have been credit gamble for cableCarnage. And last click I will install into that remote. Just trying to jam out, I think. I mean, it could be a Rashida, it could be the 3rd Rashida, but and that would be fine, honestly. More money, more cards at this point is not so bad. But I think with the setup as it is currently, I would ideally be trying to just kind of make use of the fact that the runner isn't super economically set up just yet. So looking at the state of things, R&D has a big code gate in front of it. That's hellish for Buzzsaw to break without some support. HQ has an Anansi in front of it, which pretty bad for Eco. And the remote has a big code gate and 2 other pieces of ice. Overclock, however, will solve some problems. And so here we go. And I do have to think about this a fair bit. And Shapers, specifically Arissana, gets so much value out of Overclock. Right, it all depends on what I've installed here and what I've swapped with Tattoo Bowler, I think. So we will res a Hafren, which was my quote-unquote spicy tech for this deck, which is basically an in-faction border control that's a little bit cheaper in a sense. So I discard a card from my hand and I pick a breaker on his side of the board that is not able to break ice this run. He points out that Hafren's also a code case and he can break those, and I was like, that's fine, it's not for this. And he goes, oh, okay, fine. So yeah, maybe picking Buzzsaw was good, but it was a good idea, but I didn't think he was going to go and break a teeny anytime soon. So cableCarnage will install a Feature Shell on Hafren using the overclock money, which is pretty smart. It means the click isn't lost. It was my goal to kind of waste this click and crucially waste the overclock. And I think to some extent I did succeed. So he does break it, he passes it, gets the click back, and then jacks out. There's no need to face check that Atini when you don't need to. It means he progresses his environmental testing and the money and the click isn't wasted from overclock, or is less wasted from the overclock. So yeah, I think a really nice thrust, parry and riposte from us both there. Just making that call. Also Hafren was free because of Vovo, so that's a bonus. So he'll run again, break Hafren easily, hit an Atini and just kind of take it to the base. The Feature Shell gets a click back, but then has to return to hand. But it means he's got plenty of cards in hand, so he can take the Atini, and that's absolutely fine. I've never known Shapers to play quite like this. It's like having Banhar in Shaper, which is weird. Feature Shell, Hush, and the Conduit. So I said it was absolutely fine. It might not have been fine. I'm pretty happy seeing those from the Corp side, but it means he gets through the Atini without having to pay for it. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, so Tattoo Bowler for free. He will break it easily. I will swap it and get paid, which is awesome. And then we play a side game, and he has 1 credit. So I think we all know what I'm betting. There it is. 2-0. I didn't want to risk it. I could have bet like 1 or something, but nah. So he accesses, can't trash the Adrian, and that's it. So 1 counter on the mystery card in the server. We will Mindscaping just to get some additional economy and look at some more cards on top of the deck. You could also potentially make HQ or R&D safer for a turn. I do know that Conduit is gone, and I don't see a symbol chip on the other side of the board at the moment, but we've seen 2 symbol chips. I'm pretty sure every Arissana deck runs 3, so it's still a possibility that I could come back. But again, without a Turbine or a Takabi, getting through Atini continuously is just such a problem for this board state. So then, as I'm thinking, we realized that when he passed Atini, he should have got 2 credits from Cuban, which would have changed things. It would have made the side game maths a lot more relevant, but we couldn't really go back at this point. So yeah, we just caught the credit differential. So I will install to install, and then I will actually pay to install right up front, just to really protect this card in the remote. I don't think I've ever done that. I've never paid 4 in Teia to install a piece of ice, but I think I was just convinced that was correct at this point. So I'm down to 3 credits, but again, Vovo is a hell of a drug, and he will make a lot of your problems go away. So it's over to cableCarnage. He will install he'll take a Trojan back to hand. He will install a symbol chip for using that UAV money. Second click, I think, is a pinhole threading, which I laughed at because that's a really good play. So he'll install the Cuban mid-run, which will trigger environmental testing and lily pad for a draw. Goodness, this is an efficient play. So that pinhole threading, going up to 11 credits mid-run, and he will then go through archives and access Vovo and kill Vovo, which makes a lot of sense. So that's 2 credits to destroy what is such an economic boon on my part, on my side of the field. And that means that all the math that I had done for the remote server is perhaps a little bit off. So there's a Miss Bones, and he will then run last click. Miss Bones, who can clear out the remote if he gets all the way through. So that's 3 credits. That's a problem. I do raise Tattoo Bowler though, and that could solve all the problems. And quite smartly, cableCarnage just bounces, which means I can't score out any agendas potentially in that remote server this turn. So good plays all around. I'm so sad Vovo's gone, but what can I do? I think here just taking 3 credits is the best thing to do because my servers are all protected and it's just about waiting it out and trying to keep the runner out, but there's not much more I can do at this point. So cableCarnage will take the cube end back and draw and draw and draw again, and last click I think he installs environmental testing using the money from the UAV. At this point he says, do you win? And I say yes. So yes, it is an agenda in that remote, and with the Lacosta and double advance, that is a score to 9 points. So here's me showing what I would have done. The tattoo bowler would have swapped for a rhyme, and then the next piece of ice would have been a surveyor at 11 strength. Just wanting to show there what I had in store if he had decided to run. Yeah, Arissana versus like a Glacier Artea is a lot of fun, and I would highly recommend the matchup if ever you get the chance to play. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe and follow the links in the description below. Take care and see you next time.